Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources, find the key insights, and basically give you the shortcut to knowing what's really going on. Today, we're tackling something pretty common in pro sports, this idea of a career crossroads.
Yeah, the critical point.
Exactly. High stakes, where a player's future, maybe their whole legacy, it can all just shift. And we're zoning in on one specific player today, someone often called the Jacksonville Jaguars' $76 million star.
Right.
We've got some interesting stuff here, mainly looking at a Yardbarker piece that leans heavily on Pro Football Focus, PFF analysis.
That's the plan. We're going to unpack what this crossroads actually means, for the player, Tyson Campbell, for the Jags who've put down serious cash, and maybe see what it tells us more broadly about performance, big money, and just bouncing back in the NFL.
Right. It's definitely more than just one guy's story.
For sure. It's a window into that elite level pressure.
Okay, so let's name him. 25-year-old cornerback Tyson Campbell, Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, most people following the NFL know the Jags. Well, they had a rough 2024 season, ended 4-13.
Oof. Yeah, definitely disappointing.
So the whole team, the whole organization, they're really looking for a big bounce back this year. But here's the twist, and this is why that PFF angle caught our eye. You'd think maybe everyone would point to Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, as the key guy for 2025.
That's the obvious name, yeah.
But PFF, with all their data dives, they've actually flagged Tyson Campbell as Jacksonville's make-or-break player. So the big question is, why him? Why the cornerback? What's PFF seeing that puts the focus there, especially for a team trying to rebuild its defense?
It really does shift the focus, doesn't it? Away from the maybe more glamorous offensive side. PFF often digs into this, how one key defensive player not performing up to par, especially at a critical spot like corner, can kind of drag the whole unit down.
Right.
So for them, Campbell isn't just expensive, he's potentially the linchpin, or maybe the bottleneck if he doesn't get back to form. It's a really interesting pick.
Okay, so PFF makes this bold claim. How does the money factor in? Because that number, $76 million, it just leaps off the page. He's just starting a 4-year extension. Average over $19 million a year. Comes out to $76.5 million total. From your perspective, what does that kind of money instantly tell you about expectations? The pressure must be immense.
Oh, absolutely. That kind of deal, especially for cornerback, it just screams elite. Top of the market expectations. And PFF, specifically Dalton Wasserman in the piece, ties it directly together.
Okay.
The analysis really hinges on that contract. Wasserman says, and this is a direct quote, Campbell is entering the first season of a 4-year contract extension that pays him an annual average of more than $19 million.
Right.
However, and this is the key part, Campbell needs to return to the 2022 form that led to an excellent 80.7 PFF coverage grade in order to justify it.
Right. Justify the money.
Exactly. It connects his past peak, that 80.7 grade, directly to the expectations of this new contract. The Jags are betting big he can be that guy again.
So that 80.7 PFF grade in 2022. Let's talk about that number. What does that actually mean in NFL terms? How good is that?
Yeah, 80.7. That's way up there. That puts you firmly in the top tier of corners in the league for that season. It signals, real lockdown ability, not giving up many catches, always in the right spot, making plays, basically a shutdown corner.
The kind of guy offenses have a game plan around.
Precisely. That's why it's the standard they're holding him to now.
Okay, so that 2022 season clearly set the bar. Let's quickly look back at how he got there. Drafted 33rd overall, early second round back in 2021. His rookie year, 21, he started 15 games, got 49 solo tackles, couple interceptions, maybe started a bit slow but found his groove.
Right, settled in.
But then 2022-23, that was the breakout. He bumps up to 55 solo tackles, 3 interceptions. Key makes the playoffs for the first time in a while. And that's when he hits that excellent 80.7 PFF grade we keep mentioning.
Yeah.
Showed speed, instincts, everything you want.
He definitely showed that elite potential. But as you know, staying at that level is the real challenge in this league. And things can turn pretty quickly. Since that peak in 2022, his performance, well, it's dipped. The sources mention that over the last 2 seasons combined, his PFF grade is down to a far more mediocre 60.3.
Wow, quite a drop. So what does 60.3 look like compared to that 80.7?
It's a big difference. 60.3 is much closer to league average, maybe even a bit below average for a starting corner. It means more completions allowed, maybe not quite as sticky in coverage, fewer impact plays, certainly not what you expect from someone paid like a top 5 guy.
And the sources point to injuries being a major factor here.
Yeah, that seems to be the main culprit, a string of really tough injury setbacks that have hit his performance and, just as importantly, his availability.
Sounds like a frustrating run. So after that great 2022-23 season, the next year, 2023-24, he missed 6 weeks. Hamstring and quad issues.
Mm-hmm.
For a corner, those lower body injuries, especially hamstrings, that's just brutal. It affects your speed, your brakes, everything.
Absolutely critical for the position.
And then adding insult to injury, literally, week 1 of this past season, 2024, against Miami, another hamstring injury.
Yeah, terrible timing. Right out of the gate.
And that cost him another 5 weeks. So he only played 12 games last year, same number of solo tackles, 42, as the year before when he also missed time.
Right.
It just paints a picture of him struggling to stay on the field consistently.
And that has a ripple effect, right? It's not just about Campbell's stats. We need to connect this back to the team defense.
Yeah.
The source points out the Jaguars' defense ranked 25th overall in the NFL in team PFF coverage grade last season.
25th, that's not good.
No. It really highlights why getting that 2022 version of Campbell back is so critical for them. It's not just for him. It's for the whole defensive unit to improve. They need that star power, that reliability back there if they're serious about competing in the AFC South. His health and performance are directly linked to fixing that defense.
So let's think strategically for the Jags. If he doesn't get back to that form, what happens? That $76 million is a huge chunk of their cap space tied up.
It puts them in a really tough spot financially and from a roster building perspective. That money is committed. If they're not getting elite play, they can't easily just go out and replace it. They might have to overspend somewhere else or use high draft picks on a position they hoped was locked down.
Yeah, domino effect.
Definitely. And it sends a message, too, about the risk of these mega deals, especially with injury history involved. They're essentially betting the house, defensively speaking, on him bouncing back.
Okay, so that's the risk. But there is some good news recently, right? The source mentions he's looking good this offseason, says he has looked in great shape. That's got to be encouraging for everyone in Jacksonville.
It's definitely the first positive sign you'd want to see, and it's not just hearsay. There's some solid positive feedback from the defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanile.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
After a mini-camp practice back on June 12th, Campanile was apparently pretty enthusiastic. He said, I'm really, really fired up about everything he's done this offseason.
Okay, good start.
Because he's competed so hard in the practices. He's fighting for every rep, whether it's at the top of the route, on the line of scrimmage, in the break area.
That's interesting. He's pointing out specific technical things. Top of the route, break area.
Exactly. That's not just generic coach talk. It suggests Campbell is showing that explosiveness, that attention to detail in drills that maybe wasn't there when he was hampered by injury. He's competing. That's key.
That does sound promising. It sounds like he's putting the work in, showing that drive. You hear similar stories about players coming back from injury, needing that prove-it year.
Yeah.
It's all about taking that off-season work, that practice intensity, and making it show up on Sundays. So when you boil it all down, the challenge for Tyson Campbell is pretty clear. He has to take this positive off-season momentum, the good shape, the coach's praise, the competitiveness, and translate it onto the field this fall for his 5th season.
That's the crux of it.
This is the definition of a career crossroads.
Yeah.
And for you watching, whether you're a Jags fan or just interested in the league, it's this fascinating test case. Can a highly paid player overcome serious injuries and truly justify that massive investment?
Absolutely. And just to hammer home the stakes again, for Campbell and the Jaguars, this isn't just personal pride or stats. It's about that $76 million investment needing to deliver results. The team wants a deep run into the postseason, and PFF at least sees Campbell's elite play as essential for that.
Non-negotiable almost.
Seems like it. The whole defense improving hinges, in large part, on him getting back to that 2022 level and maybe most importantly, staying healthy for a full season. It's a big gamble.
It really forces you to think about the sheer pressure these athletes are under, especially when you've got the massive contract, the expectations, and then the bad luck of injuries piled on top.
Yeah.
How do those things shape a guy's career path? And what does it actually take to justify $76 million when you've battled through all that?
Yeah.
So thinking about Campbell navigating this crossroads this season,
Yeah.
what do you think is the most critical piece for him? Is it just staying healthy? Is it the mental game, the coaching, something else entirely? Definitely something to chew on after this deep dive.